Welcome to another Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm continuing my J.G. Ballard series, which I've been hitting really hard because I just absolutely love Ballard's work. Ballard is one of those authors that not everything is becoming a top tale, but I've already got a lot of his listed as top tales. They're not all top tales, but at his worst, he's still very enjoyable. At his worst, he's still very professional and completely readable. Um, doesn't feel dated to me anyway, and just is completely enjoyable at his worst. Okay, other authors I'm covering, like I just did Stepsons of Mars by C.M. Kornbluth. I read it and I was appalled because not only was it very racist and offensive, it was just poorly written. If he would have taken all the racism out, it still wouldn't have made it a story worth reading anymore. Um, but Ballard has nothing like that anywhere in this bibliography, and I've dug quite a long ways into it. He really is one, if not the best, one of the very best writers in all of speculative fiction, and worth any of you digging deeper. Maybe you've read Empire of the Sun, or maybe you've read um, High Rise because of the movie that came out a few years ago. Keep going. Get the rest of his work. I mean, you can find this one used and it's not that pricey, really. The complete short stories of J.G. Ballard. All of his short stories are in here. Okay. That's going to cover most of J.G. Ballard. And then you just have his novels to get. The Wind from Nowhere, The Drowned World, The Drought, The Crystal World, Crash, Concrete Island, High Rise, Unlimited Dream Company, Hello America, Empire of the Sun, Day of Creation, The Kindness of Women, Rushing to Paradise, Cocaine Nights, Super Can, Millennium People, Kingdom Come. I believe that's all of his novels. You know, you get those and you get this and you've got Ballard and you can read it all. And he's one of those authors that I think I can accurately sit here and say it's worth it. A lot of what I try to do with these videos is to steer you around the ones that are not worth it to the gems that the authors write, and give you some advice of what you might not like, what you might like, what you would like if you like this sort of thing, what you would like if you like that sort of thing. With Ballard, I'm sitting here going, it's just all good. Read it, man. It's just all good. This guy's a real writer and does an amazing job. So read Ballard, read all of Ballard. And my current one that I'm here to talk about, number 26 on my J.G. Ballard bibliography, which may or may not be complete, is The Thousand Dreams of Stellavista. This was published in March of 1962 in Amazing Science Fiction magazine, at this time being edited by the great Seeley Goldsmith, who did an amazing job with the magazine, pun intended. But she published some of the best authors of the 60s, publishing early works by Ursula Le Guin, Samuel Delany, of course, publishing stories by Ballard. She really took amazing stories out of its pulp background and into the 1960s, into territory where analog was not going. Magazine science, fantasy and science fiction was going there, but analog was not there. New Worlds was kind of going there, but that was over in Britain. She was doing some great things with that magazine, and publishing Ballard was one of the great things she did. So yes, I read the story in here. I do have that issue of Amazing. I'm going to hold it up in a little while because of the Virgil Finlay illustration for The Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista. Got to show that off. But let's get to the story first. Enough other things. I do have to add, though, that The Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista is part of the loose series that Ballard wrote about Vermillion Sands. Vermillion Sands is a world that it's this kind of deserted beach area that was patronized by superstars, movie stars, writers, artists, all that kind of people. They had homes here, but in The Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista, most of them have moved away from here, just leaving the houses. Now, the houses that were built in Vermilion Sands, they're all kind of unique because they're all psychotropic, which means that the houses record the emotions of previous owners. Interesting, huh? Fascinating. Kind of curious why anybody would want this, but Ballard never really goes into that. It's a desired feature in Vermilion Sands, and people are buying these houses because they want the feelings of the big movie stars that used to live there. And the couple that looks at this one house on the street, Stellavista, that's where that name comes from. They're interested in this house that belonged to a star named Gloria Tremaine. She was a movie star, and she killed her husband and later drank herself into oblivion. And so they wanted the house to see those emotions. So they buy it and they move in. Ask yourself a question. If you were a writer and you wanted to update The Fall of the House of Usher to modern day houses, modern day communities, modern day technology, speculative technology, something science fictional, not just what we have in our real houses today. Um, but speculate on that. What kind of technology would allow you to create a science fictional version of The Fall of the House of Usher? And you sit down and write that story. You might write something like The Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista. That's how this story felt. The house is very much connected to its previous owners. The fate of the house and the fate of the people in it are tied together. And the experience of the previous emotions of previous owners is like the house is haunted. Ballard gives this a totally science speculative technical type explanation. So it isn't the purely gothic romantic kind of tragedy of The Fall of the House of Usher. It's science fictional, but you can still see, I can almost imagine Ballard sitting down wanting to write a story and going, what if I were Edgar Allan Poe trying to write today, trying to write The Fall of the House of Usher, but making it contemporary? How would I do that? And then thinking it through and coming up with this. The story is of course, it's Ballard. It's really well written. The characters are excellent. The house is the real star, the real character, and that comes off brilliant. Um, the house is really brought to life, and the ghostly side of the house is really brought out too, making it very creepy. And I mean, you end the story going, man, I hope nobody invents this technology. It's just too creepy. Um, the prose, of course, excellent. This is a top tale. This is a classic. This is literature. This I can't recommend it highly enough. This is a great story. I really was blown away by this. I have to admit, um, I have not previously read The Thousand Dreams of Stellavista. This is my first time with it. And wow, I'm blown away. This is recommended. Top tail all the way. And like I say, if you can get a hold of that copy of that issue of Amazing from March of 1962, the great Virgil Finlay was hired to illustrate this story. I mean, this just keeps getting better. Okay, J.G. Ballard appearing in an American science fiction magazine, illustrated by Virgil Finlay. Can you imagine anything better than this? This is as good as it gets, and this is the issue of Amazing Stories that The Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista appeared in March 1962. You also have stories by Frank Herbert, Brian Aldiss, a reprint of a David H. Keller story. This is an awesome, awesome issue. Very nice cover. Has nothing to do with the Ballard story. I'm not sure what story it does illustrate, but it's by Lloyd Birmingham. But Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista is on page 48. It's a 2-page spread, the opening illustration by Virgil Finlay, and it's beautiful. It is really beautiful. It's a conceptual piece, um, done as only Virgil Finlay can do it. Brilliant. And there is a second illustration it's nice, not quite as great. Some of the best artwork done in the science fiction field was done by Virgil Finlay, and most of his best artwork is just those black and white drawings like that in the interiors of the magazines. He did do covers. Some people hate his covers. I think there are a couple that are weak, but for the most part, his color covers I think were good. They just lack that handling of the black and white that makes Finlay illustrations just sparkle on the page, and that can only the specific effect he gets in his black and white illustrations can only be done in black and white. To do that in color well, would require better reproduction processes than what magazines had back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. You could do it today, but back then, no, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have looked as good. So he pulled out all the stops on his black and white illustrations, and they are just amazing. I mean, and other people argue with me when I say that an illustration isn't very good, and they say, well, but they were doing it on, they were doing lots of illustrations on these very tight deadlines, and I say, so did Virgil Finlay. He was doing it on the same deadlines, and he was doing more artwork than the rest of them did, and his work is absolutely mind-blowing. Why couldn't the rest of them at least do a little bit better? And that usually shuts people up. Virgil Finlay is definitely one of my very favorite artists, and it, his work is worth digging up and looking at and really studying and appreciating and remembering. And I just, like I say, I just love J.G. Ballard, illustrated by Virgil Finlay. It's like a dream team, you know. It's great. It's great stuff. I love this. Love this story. Love the illustrations. Highly recommended, as I said, and highly recommended in its original magazine appearance because of those great illustrations. So, have you ever read The Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista in any publication? Leave your comments. Tell me what you think of the story, of that story, or J.G. Ballard. Don't comment about anything else, because I'm only interested in The Thousand Dreams of Stella Vista, Vermillion Sands, and J.G. Ballard. That's all I want to see in the comment section of this video. are things related to that. All of the comments, keep them to yourself. But come on back. I got more Ballard, a lot more Ballard. We're only in 1962. Got a long way to go here. The next story, published the next month, is 13 to Centaurus. I hope you'll come on back. Join me for that and all the other great content we do here on Telltale Books. Till then, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button.